Hello.
Hello, familia. How are you, everyone? Josmar and I are really excited about talking about emotional freedom techniques. And so, this is a very important component of being able to move certain emotional energies because each day we have an experience. So, when you're experiencing a negative emotional state, whether it's anger, fear, doubt, your brain goes on a particular alert. And then it prepares this body in this fight or flight response, and it's subtle or really feeling like your breath starts to increase. You feel the palpitations in your heart. You start to feel tingly and a little off, and some of us just start to get really chatty or manic. And so all these different responses come from us feeling these emotions, and the response normally is in our body and our face. And so it's almost like a signal, to defend ourselves, that we need support. And so this also gives you like an adrenaline pump, your muscles are tense, the blood pressure changes, all kinds of things. And so this is the challenge. With this basic technique, it requires you to focus. Focus on what this negative emotion is, whether it's the fear or anxiety, a bad memory, a flashback, and then obviously this unresolved problem or anything that's bothering you is coming up. And so we want you to have a really good mental focus on this because this is where we use this particular emotional freedom technique. And so it's using just your fingertips, right? In 5 to 7 times in 12 different parts of your body, which are meridian systems, which are also like chakras. They're energy body systems that work with communicating with the brain and the body simultaneously to give ourselves a restorative, balanced kind of state. So you may be wondering what are meridians. Just know that we're going to tell you exactly what that is and show you on a different page so you can see it and reference to it. But Chinese medicine has always known that the body can tell you exactly what's going on and where it lives. And so what we're doing is we're going to stimulate those by tapping in these particular places, and that we're going to move the energy, your chi or your key energy, right, with your fingertips and these meridian points, just using the particular your pads of your fingertips. Doesn't have to be forceful, it could be very light, but these are going to be just enough to give a little signal to the brain what's going on. And so, emotional freedom technique has been used by multiple practitioners. A lot of times, you see it with hypnosis or a chiropractor. Sometimes you see it with psychiatrists. Depends. Different professionals use this, but we started using this in therapy and mental health therapy just recently in the last maybe 2 or 3 years that it was approved of. But this practice is highly recommended in all avenues, evidence based, to optimize your emotional health. So we have a lot of research to back this up that makes sure that it knows that there is a particular signal that is evidence to show that it goes, relax, it's okay, you're safe in these particular spaces. So it's really easy to learn, and it does multiple things, not just remove negative emotions, but it helps you with cravings, food cravings, eliminate pain. Maybe you want to look at some positive goals and visualizations that you have. The tapping also amplifies that. So it's kind of like a psychological acupressure. And these meridian lines that are used also in acupuncture treat all of these ailments. And it's been happening, good, we know, for like over thousands of years. So this is how we do it. Now I'm going to show you an initial sequence. And basically, you just think of the issue or the emotion or something that really bothers you. And what we do is identify the problem. That's number one, and focus on it,
Yeah.
right? Feel it in your body and see where it is, where it's anxiety, pain, fear. And then consider, like, where do you feel it? We could rate it. We could rate it from 1 to 10 if you'd like, just so you can really hone in on exactly what that feels like and how severe it is. Because we want to do a pre and post test. Because if I know that I'm really feeling really scared or just really doubtful, or I'm really stressed out, I don't know what it is, but this feeling's intense, I'm normally going to be at an 8 or a 10, something that's really interfering with my level to calm down. And so give it a number. And then we have a statement. And the statement is used as a way for your brain to focus on exactly what it is. And so we always begin with this unconditional affirmation, no matter what it is. And so it's even though, because what we're doing is telling the body, even though you're feeling this, we're going to put the affirmation of what we want to have in our body. So even though I feel this anxiety, I am deeply and completely accepting of myself, right? Even though I am feeling angry, right? Even though I'm having trouble maybe breathing, I deeply and completely accept myself. Because what we want is a whole experience of everything in our spirit, our mind, and our body to come together in deeply connecting and completely accepting itself. Because once we recognize and give attention to this energy, whatever emotion it is, it will move because now you've given it allowance to have space, given it attention, and accepting it will allow it to move now because all it wants is acknowledgement and recognition in the energy body. And so we also are communicating with the body and the brain, hey, it's okay. Okay. So even though I feel this anxiety, I deeply and cannot like completely accept myself. And so you'll start to feel it move as we're tapping. And so this is how we do it with the tapping. Because there's 12 different areas of the tapping. And let's put that tapping page up. And so when I was studying EFT many moons ago, this was out of the workbook and manual that they had us do. And it was, really large, enlarged, so we can see different points very clearly. And what we do is do the left and the right side simultaneously because we're working with the left and the right brain. And so they both have to do at the same time that we're tapping. And so we're literally going from the top of our head first. That's number one and saying, even though I feel anxiety, I deeply and completely just accept myself, right? And this is use all your fingers. You can use all four, right? We're just tapping, tapping, tapping. You can tap in the front or the back, but we want to stay in the center as much as you can. And then a left and right and back in the center. So even though I feel anxiety, even though I'm feeling whatever panic, I deeply and completely accept myself. The next one that you see on the diagram is between the eyebrows. So if you get your eyebrows where the hair begins and tap there, use two fingers, right? So it doesn't feel weird. Two fingers, your forefinger and your middle finger. And literally, even though I feel this anxiety, I deeply and completely accept myself. And if you need to write it down so you can remember, do that because sometimes you'll forget because you're feeling something, right? And where's the next, right? So you go into the next one, right? And then it's going where? Here, right? Going into the eye sockets, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right here at the ends where it is that your end of your eye socket is, and not too close to the, of course, the nerves, but where a little bit where the bone is, if you feel it, guys, feel the bone in that little area, that's where the bone is. Okay, tap there. Don't tap in the eye. So use both fingers and you're tapping, tapping, tapping. We don't do 5 to 7 times, right? But if you do it faster, you could do more. It doesn't matter. Do it until you feel a shift. Sometimes I tell you just keep going until you feel a little something, but don't overthink it, right? So even though I feel anxiety, I deeply and completely just truly accept myself. Now, you can use your eyes open or closed. We prefer open. Why? We're talking to the consciousnesses. So we want to have true presence. If you do it with your eyes closed, you'll start to kind of feel a little weird and a little off. So keep your eyes open. Then it's literally beneath where your eye is, and I guess what do you call that? What would you call that, Josmar?
It's
I guess
it's
the under eye area, right?
like
And
it's like the bone right underneath the eye.
yeah,
It's
and make
kind of
sure it's the bone. You don't want to start putting any trauma towards the under eye area of tissue. It's where the bone is, but know that it's right below the eyelids, right?
mm-hmm.
Eyelashes. So you're tapping, tapping, tapping. Use two fingers. Even though I feel anxiety, I deeply and completely accept myself. Now we're going to the nose, where your nose bridge is between your lip and your septum. We can do one, or you can do two, whichever. Which either side doesn't matter. So you're tapping, tapping, tapping. Even though I feel this anxiety, I deeply and completely accept myself. Now your little cleft right below your lip and above your chin, little bump right there. Tap, tap, tap. Two fingers. Even though I am anxious, even though I am anxiety, I deeply and completely accept myself. Right? You keep saying it until you feel it.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're going to the area of the collarbone. So if you measure the collarbone, all right, and you start to feel it, and you go right below those little balls that you feel towards the center of your collarbone, just go a little bit diagonal, a little bit below it where it's a little tender. Use two fingers, tap, 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 both and left and right side at the same time, right? And then we go, even though I feel anxiety, I deeply and completely accept myself. Now you want to keep your eyes open, remember, and then we're going to the center. So think about where the center of that little space is in your neck, where it's soft. Go a little bit further down, right? You kind of feel that's the sternum, or we really call that in meridian the thymus. So we tap, tap, tap there. You can use both fingers or one, very gently, not too hard. Even though I feel this anxiety, I deeply and completely accept myself. Now, these are now lymphatic meridians that we're doing. It's in the underarm. And so go, if you have breast, this is why, the diagram shows it, profoundly, so you can measure it. So if you're going in your breast nipple and you go all the way towards your underarm area, that's that soft spot. Now you can use one side or both, right? I tend to sometimes just do one side at a time, right? Because what I don't want to do is cross my arms. That is
Yeah.
now going to go against what you're doing in fluidity of the energy because now you're crossing your arms. So you want to keep one side and then the other side. So do even though I'm anxious or have anxiety, I deeply and completely accept myself. Other side. Even though I'm anxious, I deeply and completely accept myself, right? I'm right there about 6 or 7 times already.
Yep.
Now I go to my ribs. Now your ribs normally start pretty high up and just go really, and you see how it shows in the diagram. If you go toward your nipple, right, and you go all the way down, right below it, that's where your ribs begin. That's the area you tap, tap, tap on that rib bone, both at the same time, left and right, using 2 fingers, right? And again, even though I feel anxiety, I deeply and completely accept myself. Now we're going to go to the hand. Why the hand? Josmar, is it left or right hand? Is there a
Uh,
particular one?
no, it's just the karate chop beside the side of the hand.
Okay. The reason
I
why I ask is because it's, I normally do the left hand, but it really doesn't matter because on the diagram it actually shows the right. So the gamut is a place where if you see, and this is also an acupressure point, but we all need to really focus on the karate chop more. But let's just say you wanted to see the this little area here, and then if you go down the center, there's a little space there. You can tap, tap, tap there using 2 fingers, right? The gamut, or you can put a little just pressure on it with both fingers. Up to you. But we're doing the same thing. As you're touching it, even though I feel anxiety, I deeply and completely accept myself. The
Mhm.
karate chop is because it's this little meaty area on the edge of your pinky. And so that's the karate chop. And then we tap there. Use all 4 fingers, right? If you want. So we're tap, tap, tapping in this spot, or you want to use it this way or that way, doesn't matter as long as you hit that spot in the center. Even though I have anxiety or I feel anxious, I deeply and completely accept myself. By the time I'm getting here, you could feel the difference on how I'm saying it. You can actually feel the shift in your body. Definitely by the time you get to the karate chop, you're feeling that because you already hit all the meridian lines in your body.
Yep.
So literally it's 12 of them. And there's a synchronicity when it comes to that in many energy modalities. So this is literally, it doesn't take more than about 10 minutes once you start getting used to the points. And you could put this on your phone. You could use it as a reference. I used to all the time. I don't always. Sometimes I feel like I skip sometimes if I don't look at it. Look at it. Look at it really fast. You can take a bathroom break in the middle of your day of your office time. You can take a moment and walk outside, and this you can do literally in your car, anywhere. Just take a deep breath, keep your eyes open, and you tap, 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 tap. And then you figure by the moment I'm getting all the way down to my karate chop, I'm good. So
Mhm.
this is a really quick reference for emotional freedom techniques. You can do this for anything. I'm feeling weird. It doesn't matter what you're identifying some emotion, give it a number. And then if you scan your body again, you say, okay, what's the emotion you feel? Well, I felt anxiety. What number is it? It's always going to be less than a 5, right? Because there was a shift in the energy body. And we communicated to all these different meridians that I'm safe, I'm calm, and I'm clear. And so
Mhm.
you'll always see that there is at least a drop where you can now go in and focus and go back into your regular day differently. And then drink a big glass of water, guys, because we're hydrating all the energy systems and the brain and the heart with oxygen every time we put water. And so it reboots and recalibrates everything. And so we can do one with Josmar. We can do it one more time as an example. But this is actually for your reference, guys. Like this has already been given to you in one of the handouts we have. but this was something we wanted to show as how to do it because it looks a little sometimes a little overwhelming. Don't be. They're just the points so you can reference back, and it could be anything that you feel. And even though I'm dot dot dot, I deeply and completely accept myself. And so you want to say sometimes the brain goes, well, what does deeply and completely connecting or or accepting myself mean because I'm anxious? Well, there's somewhere where you're not feeling fully heard, seen, and accepted in one of the spaces of you. And so no matter what the emotion is, we regulate it by fully giving ourselves attention, giving it love, right? And giving it all the energy of our focus, and then moving it with the particular points that are very neurologically based and psychological driven, right? And then we move it together in partnership. And that's the difference between just saying an affirmation and actually using that particular affirmation that recognizes the emotion, then really imprints what the new belief system is and speaks to all of the different systems in our body, right? It's going for everything in the meridians that's talking to the brain, the heart, and the gut. And so, what do you think? Anything you want to add? Just mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was trying to zoom out. I don't want to lose the bottom. I don't want to lose the bottom of the diagram when we hit the ticker. But look, I've been using this technique very frequently since I learned it in 2016. And again, when I went and got trained for Psych K, at the end of the training, the instructor was like, working on beliefs and changing beliefs is amazing. Rewiring and reprogramming beliefs is great, but it's until you do the emotion work that you won't start to sense the bigger shifts. I was like, interesting. Like, she's like, I'm not supposed to say this, but I care about you guys, and I'm going to share that the emotions are where it's at, right? The beliefs are great, but if you're holding on to these emotions from the past and you rewire your brain, you're still feeling and you're still expressing these emotions. So again, like, it's a simple thing. It's easy to do, and again, for that reason, it's also easy not to do. So I just urge you to practice this,
Mm-hmm.
right? I was
Mm-hmm.
literally just on Facebook and I saw like 3 ads on tapping. The 3 different companies are talking about tapping or training or hosting an event. So it's like you can go ahead and get trained in this. You can go ahead and spend a lot of money going to workshops and stuff like that. But we're just giving it to you right here. This is not something that's like, it's readily available online. You'll find a
Yes.
lot of videos about it. But again, none of that makes any difference unless you actually do it yourself, right? So yeah, I was gonna say this morning I woke up, right? Like, we all experience emotions, we all experience things. We're all human, right? And this morning I actually thought about a good friend of mine who had passed away last year. And she passed away maybe November, but it was like I was in a really good energy and vibe back then. So like it's like almost like I didn't really go through it. So this morning I thought about her, and then I looked through my phone to find a photo of us from elementary school, and I posted it on my Facebook. And as I was writing the caption, I was feeling the emotions coming up of the grief, of the sadness, of the loss. And I was using the words that I was typing as a way to do some healing. So it's like if I woke up today and started to getting into those feelings, I was probably at a 9. And then just doing the posts, I was probably like at a 7 level intensity. I'm talking a scale from 0 to 10, 10 being like the most sad or feeling that feeling. I was at a 9, and then just doing that, even though I wasn't really specifically targeting that, just doing and pressing it now for the demonstration that we just did is
Mm-hmm.
down to 2, right? Um, and another nuance that I'm going to go cover is that you'll find yourself sometimes going through this and doing several rounds of the EFT tapping and find that there's actually a deeper or more specific emotion underneath the one that you started with, right? So at first I felt sad, right? And then I felt grief. And then I felt the last one that I felt before I got into this call was like, it was almost like apathy, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And now it's just like I don't really feel those emotions, but there's still something there, right? So again, you need to go and use the master list of emotions to kind of refresh your memory, maybe see some things that maybe read through it and then find words that you kind of either trigger you or you resonate the fact, yeah, I'm definitely still feeling that, or I felt this recently and I didn't do anything about it, kind of just threw it under the rug. This is what we want to
Mhm.
practice, all these emotions. So I'm feeling it, it's not apathy anymore. It feels like it's not even sadness. It's almost like it's like sympathy is the feeling, right?
Mm.
I started
Mhm.
at this, I went to this, I went to this. So what I would just do is, even though I feel sympathetic, right? Even though I feel the sympathy for my friend and her family, right? I deeply and completely accept myself.
Mhm.
Then we're going to the top of the eyebrow, right? Even though I felt sympathetic about Kelsey and her passing, I deeply love and accept myself. That one I use deeply love and accept myself, but I
Mhm.
deeply and completely accept myself. And the more you practice, you find words that resonate more with you. Even
Mhm.
though I feel sympathy, I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though I feel sympathy, I deeply and completely accept myself. And even myself, I just realized I said it differently than I said it the first time,
Mhm.
right?
You do feel the energy shift. Yes.
Feel the energy shift, you connect with the words, even though I feel sympathy, I deeply love and accept myself.
Mhm.
Even though I feel sympathy, I deeply love and accept myself. Okay, 27 points. Even though I feel sympathetic to Kelsey and the loss of Kelsey, I deeply love and accept myself. There you go. Even though I feel sympathetic, I deeply love and accept myself. Even though I feel sympathy, I deeply and completely accept myself. I just
Beautiful.
write top like this, even though I use both of my
Mhm.
hands, both of the meaty
Mhm.
parts. Even though I felt sympathetic, I deeply love and accept myself. Right? It
Mhm.
feels like a zero right now. So I give myself a little high five.
Good.
Um,
Because the
right?
repetition also is what I'm recognizing is what's communicating in its confirmation, like really feeling it in each aspect of you. And so as you hear yourself saying it over and over, it's more of an acceptance, right? That acknowledgement, that completion space. And it's important, right? So getting a list of different emotions sometimes is helpful, but just really being honest. So whatever word resonates for you, that's what the word you connect, you use that and move it in each space because our energy body is, off until we fully accept it, right? And it's a beautiful technique that can move through anything: heartache, insecurity, vulnerability, helplessness, failure. um and the more that you learn how to identify, certain emotions, and then as you're saying each time, I deeply and completely accept myself, is that you can actually have these feelings without feeling that deep sense of loss or disconnect or incompletion, like something's missing or something's wrong. It's literally saying each time, I could have this feeling, but I'm still okay. I can have this feeling, but I'm still accepting and loving me. And loving and accepting is beautiful. So if you want to exchange that word for, deeply loving or loving and accepting, whatever really feels like a hug is what you want to use, right? And they give you the protocol to use as you know um, a particular way to begin that process for you. Because if not, you'd be all over like, what do you mean? What word do I use? Is that the right word? And you'll make it more complicated than it is. It's a very simple technique. Keep it simple, keep it very, consistent on the words, and then it sends the messages. So the fact that you even saw that halfway through, the moment you started getting from here to here, you already have shifted.
Yeah.
And then it literally is down all the way down from like the ribs where it's dealing with the area of the solar plexus and stuff. And then once you hit here, it's like almost like a command, like that karate chop is like, yes,
Mm-hmm.
like no matter what.
It's a
This is
literal
what I
command. From a language perspective, again, just to give you more insight about it, it's even though when you say the words even though out loud to yourself, you are creating a duality, right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Just by saying it, right? So to your subconscious mind, it's priming itself that it has to make comparison between two things. And you say, even though I feel, or I am, or I have, right? You're saying it in the first present tense, right? So it's calling it into the now. It's not something that happened before, right? It's something that you're experiencing and working through in the moment. And by you telling I deeply and completely accept myself, or I don't deeply and completely love myself, whatever resonates more with you, you're gonna find that again, you're telling your body and commanding your body that I deeply and completely accept myself. That's all you're saying. You're not asking it to do anything else, right? So it's because you're speaking to it that way. It's taking whatever you're saying, but what you're doing with your hands and what you're doing and the pressure and the points that you're pressing and tapping on is where energy is being released from. By activating those energy points, you're allowing the body to the almost like the electrical charge of the emotion is going down, is getting lower and lower and lower. And the goal is to get it to a one, get it to a zero. I subscribe to the 0 to 10. Um,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
and another thing that I will share is that you can have more than one instance of the same emotion.
mm-hmm,
So, sometimes people think, okay, well, I've already tapped for sadness. So, like, okay, well, you felt sadness multiple hundred times in your childhood, right? It's going to be specific for each experience and it might show up differently, right? There might be different emotions connected to the sadness, like grief or apathy or other things. So like practice. The whole point of giving you these tools is that you practice it.
mm-hmm.
And I'm going to ask a question, like, 'cause I know we have the gambit point here as well. At what point do you use okay, because we call this tapping right here, what we just went through the 5 steps, that's like the basic recipe,
Mm-hmm.
right? In energy psychology, it would be called the basic recipe. When would you use the 9 gamut procedure?
The gap mood is when, let's just say, you're not able to, and this is how I do it. When I'm in a particular area, let's say I'm in a conference room, I'm in a meeting, I'm starting to have these overwhelming feelings, and I don't necessarily have the ability to step out and do the tapping process of all of them. Now, each hand has its own meridian lines, right? And so when you're looking at the fingertips and connected to the gamut, these are pressure points that we could gently press in and literally just speak loving to ourselves. Even if, let's say, we don't remember, even though, right? It's like literally saying, I love and accept myself exactly as I am. I'm okay and I'm safe. But that's the only thing that comes to your mind, right? And you feel, if you see actually on the diagram, there's little dots that are in the inside of the fingertips because there are literally nerve endings that go to the end of our fingertips. And in there, the last part is the gamut. But if you, let's say you just wanted to put a little pressure, right, with one of your fingers, like your thumb, and put a little pressure into the in part of that finger, which is your thumb, your forefinger, your middle finger, skipping your ring finger, and then going into your pinky, and then going to the gamut, just a little pressure there. I'm breathing in each point and just literally speaking loving to myself. That's also a quick pro tip, in order for that signal to go up into the brain and say, it's okay, breathe, you're safe. Until I get to another place where I can actually do some tapping. That's how I do it. I'm not sure if you've used that technique differently. Um, but sometimes it's a little harder to remember depending on where you're at. But this is a way that I do underneath the table, just like when we do muscle testing. And Josmar and I know we do it very well. Like we'll just put our arms down underneath the table or in a significant space, and we're tapping, right? Or we're doing a pressure point, or we're actually muscle testing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we're able to check in, even being in the months of a bunch of people, being able to get our meridians aligned or getting a yes and no. Um, and so, what do you use it for? Like I've used it like that when I'm like about to do a presentation or about to do a test or something like that. That's when I use the Gamut 9.
I've seen
But
it Or again, I've seen this used in so many different ways. Having practice with uh,
Mm-hmm.
or EFT certified people who are NLP certified and use the technique. Some Psych K people who use it. There's some hypnotherapists that use it. Like I've
Mm-hmm.
used it when the first time that it was taught to me. I was tapping on something, and it was like it was getting lower, but it was like slow. It was like it went from 10 to an 8. It went from 8 to a 7 after after a few rounds. So he's like, okay, well let's try the 9 gamut, and I'm saying I'll do it right now as well, just to it's a little bonus. I'll give you guys a separate sheet for this, but it's pretty simple. You hit, let's say in that case, it's almost like I needed more clarification about what the emotion was, or I
Mm.
need, I needed to get through something. Like maybe I wasn't identifying the specific word, so you start tapping on that point, the gamut point, right? And you close your eyes, you open your eyes,
Mm.
tap about 7 to 10 times with each movement. You look down and to the left. Your reset looks forward. You look down and to the right. Tap a few times, and then from there you roll your eyes in a clockwise version all the way around, and then you reverse it and roll your eyes the opposite way. And then you keep on tapping for this, and then you start humming. And
Mm-hmm. I did forget about the humming part. That's right. It's been a while since I did it. Mm-hmm.
you count to 10 out loud. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then you start humming again. Right? Um, and again, you're still tapping, you're still releasing energy. It's just a different technique. And again, I've used it more specifically when I'm in those positions where like things are not moving fast, or like if I want to say moving fast, they're just moving super slow, right? And I'm like, okay, well, what's going on here? Do I need more clarification? I do that. Typically, but it's again, you're activating these stuff. When you look down to your left and look down to your right, you're connecting with feelings from the past, from those feelings, right?
Yeah, I would say the Gamu procedure is really effective, like you said, for not necessarily maybe knowing what the feeling is, but some type of um disconnect. Maybe it's an experienced trauma that you don't specifically have a memory of, but you know something happened, right? So
Yes.
this is really good when it comes to trauma therapy, for childhood trauma and unhealed issues, but you don't know exactly what it is. And it works, like you said, with the both brain hemispheres. And this is why you do the eyes, because the eyes and the ocular nerves connecting to all the different parts of the brain, the forebrain and the amygdala. So that you said the nine steps or the nine tap is beautiful because it connects your sound, it connects your eyes with your brain. Closing your eyes, opening your eyes is giving a different signal, right? Moving like you said, your eyes from the left, going them counterclockwise and then clockwise. The humming is more of a signal, like you said, to the brain that kind of harmonizes both the left and the right side of that brain hemisphere, and the count of that is really significant, so you're tuning or attuning it, and then the humming brings it into cohesion or a partnership together. But
Mhm.
yeah, looking to the right and to the left really engages both brains. And so that's, neuropsychology on next level. But thank you for bringing that up because I forgot about that procedure. I'm so used to the tapping and the acupressure. That is just as significant. I just, it's used for you don't know what that feeling is, but it's something and it's deep.
Yeah.
And you can do it easily anywhere, um, the way you used it. So there's a lot of benefits to that for sure. It might be a little uncomfortable for some people if they're doing a little clockwise moment with their eyes and they start to feel a little distressed. Make sure that you take, you're really conscious of your breathing and taking deeper breaths. It might feel a little strange, or a little uncomfortable, but moving through that with the humming will
Hmm.
soothe you, soothe your inner child, soothe your energy body in order for it to be fully allowed and accepted. And then doing the check-in afterwards so you know that it's different. You have some different sensation about what that emotion not really being able to be identified, but it feels like it's gone or a lot less.
Yeah,
So,
it's game.
so yeah.
The I've done this with headaches. I'm not sure if
Mm,
I'm do or not, but I have. Because typically, sometimes when I have headaches, I'm like, this is because I haven't eaten. Sometimes because I haven't slept right, but sometimes I'm like, I'm just feeling. I'm not. I haven't. I'm trying to express something and I haven't felt yet. I feel stressed, and it's why it's. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. But I start to when you start humming, humming music, singing, things like that.
mm,
They're very right brain activity, right? Creativity, things like that. And then you start counting. The counting is a logic thing. So once you start, like for me, I sense it. Like I sense a palpable shift as soon as I start counting. As soon as I activate both sides in that way, it's like I can almost feel like pressure's falling off me, right? And that's my way of experiencing it, right? Like again, you're going to start to have your own experiences by practicing, by studying, by going through it yourself,
mhm,
and this is all in the pivot, the perception pivot from the pivot point system book that I co-wrote. So like this is in there. We talked a little bit about muscle testing in here on your own. We talked about perception. So get a little bit more information about beliefs and emotions and how they work when it comes to our behaviors. How to get into an emotion you want to feel, and then obviously what we just went over the course of the EFT
mhm, mhm,
here. So again, you already have this in your possession. It's just a matter of reading it if that's your thing. If you're an audio learner, you're probably going to want to listen to this again.
mhm.
Um, and then over the next few days, I'm definitely going to do another video like this, but have the slides and identify just each step one by one so that it's easier. You can just screenshot every page of its own idea. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like this would be really helpful for those who really need to walk through a process. And reading just feels like, I don't even know. But now that you have the steps, try it, practice it, go back into like our group and give some feedback on it. Um, and that would be helpful to see where you're at with it, right? And as we circle back with more videos on the muscle testing and other things, it'll start adding to your practice. And all you have to do is try something every day, a little bit every day, on one thing at a time, one emotion at a time. And then you'll start to see the difference in your body and in the way that you're staying clear about certain things. And then you'll start to see the result already just in how you work and communicate with other people with the other tools. And so we'll see what happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
But giving the practice and doing the feedback is really important for you because this is what you showed up for, is in order to get a technique that works, it's effective, it's evidence-based, it's used amongst many different emotions and different situations. So practice it um, throughout throughout your day or throughout your week. And this is for you guys. This is not for you to show other people, to try to do other people. Let's really keep focused on your practice, your experience, your shift, because that is how you actually help others in letting them know that this is possible, right? Because your progress and your feeling of just being lighter and clearer, and then your mood shifts and everything else starts to be more available. So we encourage you, to practice. And so thank you, Josmar, for the gamut. And I hope you guys really, really go out there and make a difference in your life. It's on you. Let's go. Until next time, I'll see you guys soon.